I never expected I'd say this, but I think Ryan Reynolds is nearing his breaking point, and I don't think he can conceal it anymore. The pressure has been building for months, maybe even years, and now it's finally spilling over. For a guy who built a career out of being polished, witty, and completely in control, the silence lately speaks more than words ever could. And here's the thing, we're not just talking about ordinary gossip.
The conclusion here, I have said this since before, long before this ever broke out between her and Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively is not a good person, that she has proven herself not to be a kind person.
This concerns a man who's been dragged into a legal storm that's ripping apart his marriage from the inside out. Blake Lively is caught in one of the most public legal battles we've witnessed in years. And Ryan, he's right at the center of it, whether he wants it or not. You don't have to be a body language expert to notice something's wrong. He's distant, withdrawn, not appearing where it counts. While Blake battles things out in court, Ryan is nowhere to be found. No statements, no interviews, no visible emotional support caught on camera. And yet, court documents have already established that even he isn't emerging from this completely untouched. I think this is much more than just a rough patch.
We're plotting with the New York Times for months to smear him, and there may be some important evidence. I know for a fact that the mainstream media will lie and they will smear on behalf of their powerful friend. I believe in due process, which is why I always read the facts of the case before accepting the media narrative.
This is about a man who's watching everything he created, his image, his family, his peace get dragged into chaos. And now, after months of silence, the cracks are beginning to show. Let's break down exactly what's happening in this marriage and why I think Ryan Reynolds is quietly sending everyone a message. Because once you notice the signs, you can't unsee them. It began when Blake told the court that her kids were emotionally impacted by everything going on. And then boom, she added that it was affecting Ryan too.
Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence. And was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress.
His health, his career, his mental state. That right there is an admission. Not just of how serious this case is, but of how damaged things might be at home. I think Blake meant well. Maybe she wanted compassion. Maybe she thought it would show the judge how much this situation had cost her family. But what it really did, it confirmed what many people were already whispering. That something is wrong between them. That Ryan isn't merely a bystander, he's sinking in it. And when you bring the kids into the picture, when you say they're...
In Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, he accuses Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively of colluding with the New York Times. Do you guys remember what the article was actually entitled that they actually released on 12/21? We can bury anyone inside a Hollywood.
Shaken by what's unfolding, it changes the entire tone. That's no longer simply a fight between adults. That's a household under pressure, a family unraveling. She revealed the strain, and by doing so, she made the silence around Ryan louder. He's not merely stressed, he's spiraling, and nobody's discussing what that really means. Where has Ryan been? No, seriously, where is he? Blake's been front and center in the courtroom. She's been seen walking in and out, giving carefully staged appearances, making headlines. But Ryan, it's almost like he disappeared. I think his silence is loud. Too loud.
Product with atrocious marketing. You have yourself a disastrous brand that will go out of business.
This is a man who rarely misses a PR beat. He built a business off his charm and timing. But now he's flying solo, skipping events, staying quiet, and I think it's because he can't play the supportive husband role, right? Now, not when he's silently fighting his own storm. And let's not ignore the rumors. A few internet sources noted that he was spotted alone multiple times this month. No Blake, no kids, just Ryan quietly, remaining withdrawn. That's not just taking time off. If you look at that URL, look at the date on that. 1216/2000. That's someone backing away from a narrative they no longer control. When someone known for being the face of every campaign suddenly pulls back like this, that's not an accident. That's an emotional retreat. That's a man in the middle of a storm trying to protect what peace he's got left. Ryan's brand has always been one of the most carefully managed in Hollywood. He's the funny guy, the good guy, the guy who can sell gin and soccer teams and still be America's favorite film star. But now he's been named in court documents tied to a $400 million lawsuit.
Did not know both of their lawsuits have been consolidated into one legal showdown instead of these two separate.
The terms defamation, interference, accusations of manipulation, that's no longer a rumor. That's a legal reality. And even if none of it sticks, it's already had an impact. Brands don't like controversy. Studios don't like unpredictable headlines. And fans, they're beginning to wonder if Ryan's silence is concealing more than just stress. I think this could damage deals. I think this could reshape how he's viewed in the industry. He's not simply Blake's husband anymore.
Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here.
There's just so much more to this story, and the media's already like self-flagellating. Oh, we were too mean to Blake. And now you see text messages from Blake Lively comparing herself. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
He's part of this legal storm. Whether he wanted it or not, his name is on the line now. And the polished image he spent years perfecting, it's beginning to crack. Every marriage has conflict. Sure. But when two powerhouse personalities live under one roof, it's a different type of struggle. Blake and Ryan aren't simply a couple. They're a brand. And lately, I think that brand is moving in opposite directions. There are whispers of disagreements over career priorities, over public image, even over who controls the spotlight. It's not difficult to imagine how these things eventually boil over.
No idea on what grounds these two are going to attempt to dismiss his lawsuit. I could understand some possible arguments that her publicist might make and fail, because I told you, he's got evidence.
Especially when one side is stuck defending a legal position while the other is trying to keep a career from completely falling apart. I think Blake's focus is all in on the case. And I think Ryan's being dragged into it whether he agrees with her strategy or not. They're both used to being in control. But now that control is slipping and the tension, you can sense it even without them saying a word. And then there's Taylor Swift. The moment she got subpoenaed, yes, subpoenaed for this case, it became clear that the fallout was spreading. Taylor and Blake have always been close. But now that closeness is being tested in ways we haven't witnessed before. I think Ryan knows how fragile these friendships are in Hollywood.
It is Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni Day. Finally, to all of the women out there that are watching, no matter what you do in life, you never, ever, ever go full.
And the fact that legal documents were even reaching someone like Taylor, that's a sign this situation has gone too far. You start pulling in friends, allies, collaborators, and suddenly the whole world starts viewing you differently. Ryan never asked for that, but now he's caught in the crossfire. And once the friend group starts backing away, that's when it gets real. That's when the marriage stops being just about two people. It becomes about who's still standing beside you when the headlines finally dry up. Through all this, Ryan stayed quiet. And I think that silence carries weight. He's not just a husband in this story. He's a father, a public figure, someone who's had to keep working, smiling, and functioning while the woman he loves is fighting a battle that's draining them both. I think people underestimate how much pressure that creates. When your name is tied to headlines, when your friends are being questioned, when your own home feels like it's under scrutiny, you start breaking down quietly, slowly, but absolutely. I don't think Ryan has had a real moment to breathe in months. And the worst part, he probably won't get one anytime soon because this storm isn't even close to over. Let's not sugarcoat it. Ryan's career is built on timing, charisma, and relatability. He's the guy who can sell almost anything just by flashing that smirk. He turned a superhero with a burned face into a global franchise. He turned gin into a pop culture icon. He bought a soccer team in a small Welsh town and somehow made it feel like the most heartwarming story on earth. But when your name gets attached to a lawsuit this massive, it changes the room. Studios start getting nervous. Executives stop smiling as much. Suddenly, conversations behind closed doors get a lot quieter. Hesitation creeps in. Risk assessments replace confidence. And even if nobody says it aloud, the question hangs in the air. Is Ryan still a safe bet? I think this whole situation is disrupting Ryan's momentum. He was untouchable for years. Deadpool, aviation gene, Wrexham. Endorsement deals pouring in. Social media posts that could go viral before breakfast. He had the magic touch. But lately, the buzz is different. It's quieter. There's less excitement. The engagement online isn't what it used to be. Even his famously sharp and hilarious posts now feel either overly scripted or strangely forced. And in some cases, he's posting nothing whatsoever. I think he knows it. I think he feels the energy shift. Because Hollywood may love a comeback story, sure, but what it hates, what it punishes is uncertainty. If there's one thing this town can't stand, it's not knowing what scandal might drop next. And Ryan, he's no longer simply the lovable face of comedy. He's now a headline risk, a potential liability. The guy who might get pulled into a deposition during reshoots or mentioned in a subpoena right before a press tour. And that shadow, it sticks. It doesn't have to be a scandal to hurt. Just the suggestion that something could be coming is enough. In Hollywood, silence is often louder than a denial. And Ryan's silence is stretching longer every day. What happens to a leading man when studios stop calling? What happens to a public figure when brands decide he's too risky to endorse? You can be the most bankable star in the world, but if people sense you're walking around with a PR time bomb strapped to your chest, they'll step back. That's not merely career damage, that's career redefinition. And then there's the personal toll, because when your professional identity starts crumbling, it always finds a way to follow you home. Ryan Reynolds built a kingdom out of being clever. His whole brand is humor. He's the guy who breaks the fourth wall, mocks his own movie posters, and turns every awkward moment into a punchline. It's worked for him. Every role, every ad, every interview, that charm is his armor. But what happens when the pressure is too real to joke about? That's where I think Ryan is right now. His old tools aren't working. The sarcasm, it's not landing the same. The wink and nod routine, it's starting to feel out of place because the pain isn't surface level anymore. It's not something humor can easily hide anymore. Something you can laugh off in a tweet. You can tell when someone's forcing it. And lately, I think Ryan's been forcing it or avoiding it completely right now. He's skipped press opportunities, dodged interviews, postponed casual appearances.
Why?
Because he knows the moment someone asks a personal question, just one, the entire illusion might collapse. He's always been sharp, always had the final word, but now the silence is deafening. The pause before every public appearance feels longer. The smile seems heavier. You don't have to be a fan to notice it. He's holding something back. And I think it's eating away at the persona he spent decades creating. The truth is, there comes a moment when your public image stops being a suit of armor and starts feeling like a prison. Ryan's been switched on for so long, I don't think he knows how to switch off without unraveling. The guy who once turned every controversy into a comeback now seems like he's avoiding reality again. And maybe it's because there's too much to unpack. The lawsuit, the marriage, the children, the headlines, the pressure of being seen as the anchor holding everything together. When the person you've convinced the world you are stops matching who you really are inside. It's not just uncomfortable, it's unbearable. Ryan has been projecting calm while carrying chaos. And I think he's reaching the point where the distance between those two worlds is becoming impossible to manage. The question now is, how long can he maintain the act? And what happens if he finally decides to drop it? So, where does this go from here? I think we're watching the beginning of a shift. A moment where Ryan Reynolds might have to step away from the polished image he's maintained for years and face a public that's now asking serious questions about his marriage, his future, and who he really is when the cameras turn off. Whatever happens next, one thing's clear. This silence won't last forever. And when Ryan finally does speak, when he breaks his silence for real, it's going to shake the internet because too much has already been said and far too much has already been seen.